And welcome, guys. We are back. It is time for continued coverage here of the online qualifier for the Season 3 Oceanic Championships. We're in round 4, our last round of the day even. And my name, of course, is Paige. I'm going to be joined by Papa Smithy for this match. Potentially our last match today, but who knows? We may have more cooked up here. But finally, I guess, two reasonably unknown teams. Indian 5 on the left. They're going to be the blue team here for this draft. And Nipple Tweaks on the right. They're the purple team.
I like that you lent into that. I was wondering how you were going to approach the amazing Nipple Tweaks team name, but you did it justice.
Thank you. Not the probably not the most glorious team name I've ever had the opportunity of casting. That honor, I believe, still goes to the team Titty Twisters, who are an EU team. I believe most of their players now actually play in the ELCS, so they've clearly made it far. But
points for originality, though, Page Time. There is about 9 teams registered as Centrelink Gaming this tournament, so
that's true.
Anyone that avoids that, all full credit to you.
Indeed. Thresh Caitlin here, the band's up for Indian 5, and Singed Blitzcrank going to be the ones over there for the boys from Nipple Tweak, which I don't think I'll ever get sick of saying now. It's actually kind of glorious. Last band, though, coming out, and again, two relatively unknown teams. It's kind of nice at the end of the day when everything simmers down. I guess all the teams have played their matches. We've got the last few to go. Definitely going to be interesting to see the skill level here, and kind of, I mean, these teams have made it this far, through to round 4. Certainly not too bad. An 800-plus team tournament, as Nunu is the last band out. So we'll have to see what goes on here between these two. But I don't think I recognize any names just off the top of my head looking at them. But of course, we could have Smurfs and the like, so who knows?
For sure. And we don't know what to expect. We can only look at the picks and bans and just try and guess. I mean, the borders and the loading time give some sort of indication, but it could be a Smurf. There are many factors to consider in these matches. But well played to them to get this far, and hopefully we see a great game out of them.
Yeah, well, Oriana is the last ban. There is either a targeted ban, so they know something we don't, or they just don't like playing against Oriana. It's hard to tell who is. Nautilus is the first pickup. Going to be back in the jungle. Nautilus definitely been buffed to the point where he's much better in the jungle than he used to be. So he's kind of back to his glory days in a way, but still kind of a volatile jungler in terms of, a great ganker, has great teamfight presence, but kind of a very good support jungler in the vein of Amumu, Sejuani, those sort of picks, but definitely can suffer a little in the jungle if there's more of an aggressive, more of a duelist coming out here. So we'll have to see what the counter pick here potentially is over for Nipple Tweaks, but we've got Leona actually as their first pick, and looks like they might be trying to pick up their bottom lane here.
Yeah, and Nautilus is one of those junglers where if you let him get a free level 3, and I mentioned this in the previous cast that unfortunately you were out of commission for, his ganking tools, like his CC, like at level 3 he has 4 CCs, right? Actually, well, he has 3. He doesn't have his ultimate, of course, but he's a CC train, and if you let him get to 6 unimpeded with hard, and he can carry games even though he doesn't do the most damage himself. So it's one of those things where you either pick the Nunu kind of jungle and just try and ruin his day, or you have to ward extra hard just to be able to potentially counter game. Because once his CC's down, he's not the strongest in the skirmish.
No, and I think the ban of Nunu there, apart from him just being a strong pick generally, if you're going to pick a jungle like Nautilus, definitely Nunu is someone you need to have a crosshair on in the ban stage, and that is going to open up potentially a little more room here for Nautilus to do his thing and get the CC train rolling. Kayle actually the pick up there. We saw Yorick considered for a short while there from the purple team, but not going to quite happen this time. We're going to have Kayle again here. I mean, why not really? She's a very solid champion, plays in both lanes quite well, and is a very versatile champion all around. So Kayle, definitely a good one to pick up nice and early if you can. And looks like Sona and Kassadin might be the pickup here. Now, Papa Smithy, Kassadin is a champion that I've certainly been in love with for a long time. I do love watching Kassadin play, but he always has the same problem, it seems like, in 5v5s. Now, it's hard to tell whether we're going to have it here, but the biggest thing about Kassadin, he's such a great AP if you get him farmed. He is just a hyper carry in as far as AP carries can go. He just does silly things in team fights, building up the Rift Walk stacks. The problem though is his laning can be very, very tenuous at the best of times, and the most common reaction to a Kassadin is to 2v1 against him and really punish him for his poor laning phase. I mean, we even had the pleasure of casting SK, Osler, a very well-known Kassadin player, picked him up there and just got crushed by MYM because he couldn't do anything in the lane.
Yeah, in that particular game, he had to have a support Taric with him, and it was double melee against, ranged AD carry and a support, and it just didn't really work out. He was well behind in levels.
Yeah,
but I mean, the one thing to mention, though, Pastry Time, is that, and this is probably the best venue to do it, the highest ranked Oceanic player, Kenst, is a Kassadin main. He pretty much blind picks Kassadin first pick every time and does his New Zealanders proud, and he's ranked 20 in Challenger or something, so if you really think that you outskill the enemy and can know how to build and mastery and rune around the counter matchups, as you explained at the start, I mean, Kassadin's late game is a scary, scary thing.
Yeah, I think Kassadin, as I said, a very powerful champion. I think there's a big difference between solo queue and fives, but I certainly think the teams are likely at a level where they can outplay with Kassadin or outplay against Kassadin. I think you really do have to make sure you kind of keep him leashed. I actually quite like this pick as well. I mean, I don't know what the last pick is, so they might have too fragile a team, which they're going to have to be careful with. I imagine a very strong sort of CC-heavy bruiser might be the last pick up here for presumably the top lane at this point. Ooh, not what I was thinking, but we can run with it. But, I mean, if you're going to have Kassadin as kind of one of your hyper AP carriers, want to have a second hyper carrier, I suppose it's kind of weird to say it, but almost just in case. If you both end up getting farm, or it's great if one of you gets farm, then maybe you can buy enough time for the other one to get the farm they need. And we're going to flip between a couple of champions here. Definitely going to wait to see what they settle on. We had Elise, then we had, I believe, Jace being considered, and Kennen as well. Looks like it's going to be actually locked in here. So Kennen, to me, is kind of the best of both worlds. It has the heavy CC part, has damage, but isn't quite the bruise that I was kind of expecting you to protect these carries. But Kennen can definitely do a good job with that massive, massive AoE crowd control.
Yeah, and if it's a Kennen that follows the McNoon school of thought and really focuses on the Rylai's first, or the Zhonya's into a Rylai's, and just applies so much CC pressure for dual hyper carries to run around and get kills, I think this comp could really work. But I mean, to your point about having a backup hyper carry, I'm usually of the opposite school of thought in that if you have a really risky mid lane, ensure that your bot lane is a winning lane, like a Caitlyn lane, for example, just because then you don't have all your eggs in this lane should probably lose lane basket. Otherwise, that can be too risky. Like if your two lanes lose as expected, it's hard to come back. That's why the Kennens and the Jaces of the world are so popular, in that you can be pretty sure whatever happens, they're going to at least split a lane or win. Whereas if you have downside potential, try and compensate for that in the other lanes.
Yeah, I can definitely see that thinking as well. It's almost like there's a little too much late game here for the blue team. Which,
well, I mean, the only champion here who's pretty strong in the early game is Sona and Kennen. Like those two champions, very strong early and transition quite well. But the other three, all risky in their own way.
So it's a pretty spicy ones, actually, for Nipple Twix as the last few coming through. Zach actually picked up kind of late there in the jungle, and Fizz looks like it's going to be our mid lane here. And if that's an interesting matchup, if it is 1v1. Which
it probably will be. I'm thinking, I mean, Fizz does make sense to counterpick, much for the same as like Twisted Fate as a counterpick to, Fizz as a counterpick to Twisted Fate, in that if you can vault over the silence, a level 3 or 4 kill, if you go really aggressive, like the 30-0-0 masteries, like Incarnation would on the European side, you can really pick up kills there. But actually, after level 6, Kassadin kind of does okay, just because he can rift away, obviously. The flash pickup is interesting. I mean, you usually see the barrier or the exhaust pickups just to have two combat summoners, but he might actually need to use the flash in conjunction with his Playful Trickster to be able to close distance. So he really wants to get that kill at level 3 or 4. That's when Fizz is just unbearable to deal with. But after that, it's going to be a kind of a skill matchup.
Yeah, well, not quite the 30-0-0, unfortunately. I did have a quick look at the Masters. 21-9-0.
Not the 30-0-0.
Not super manly, no. 21-9-0, so pretty offensive. Fairly standard offensive Masters. There is 26 flat AP, along with some Magic Pen, and I think maybe some, probably not CDO, maybe some MR. Let me double check here for runes. Sorry, Armor, Magic Pen, and Ability Power, so a lot of early game damage there. So Fizz definitely has that kill potential. They Kassadin, interestingly, goes with the teleport as well to kind of accentuate that roaming power. So definitely kind of knows that lane isn't going to be all that fun no matter what really happens. Has to kind of farm up and stay safe and stay passive for the first couple levels anyway. So, hey, might as well get teleport to make your roaming even better.
Sure, that's kind of the European thinking on the use of Summoner Teleport. And I actually do support in this case because Kassadin doesn't really have kill potential on a Fizz, right? And maybe at level 9, maybe with a fantastic gank, but other things being equal, he should lose that lane. And Teleport Kassadin has even more global presence than Kassadin already does with its Riftwalk ability. So if he can pick up some kills with it and doesn't get punished in lane too much for it, it could be a really smart summoner pickup.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of, kind of aggressive laning-oriented comps today as we watch a lot of the games. As you said, a lot of the established teams seem to be playing very aggressively in their laning phase to try and take away an early advantage and then snowball the game from there. Certainly, the blue team's comp seems reasonably late game focused. They definitely want to protect their hyper carries and get the damage out there. What do you think of Nippletwigs here, or the purple team, in terms of aggressive early picks? I mean, we've already noted Fizz a very good aggressive pick, but what about the rest of what they're working with?
I mean, Fizz and Kale are both super aggressive laners. I mean, Kale top, it was in favor, in vogue. You know, the 80 Kale top was in vogue for a while when you saw TSM. Dyrus was, of course, playing a lot of top Kale. Just because it dominates lane, but it's very gankable. So I think both their laners are going to be overextended and looking to all in. It kind of relies on the jungler of the enemy team to try and pick up from that. Because if they're left to their own devices, Kale and Fizz both have favorable matchups. Even against a Kennen, Kale will be favored just with that auto attack trade.
Yeah, I mean, Nautilus he's a reasonably aggressive ganker. The problem is if you fall behind as Nautilus, it's not fun at all. You just have to spend a lot of time farming. Like, yes, he's a little bit more efficient at farming than he used to be, but much like a lot of these sorts of junglers, they're usually pretty good with, just some levels without too much gold, but Nautilus definitely doesn't want to fall too far behind here. But his ganks, if he can find them, will be very, very strong. So they may be using Nautilus here to potentially aggressively overgank and try and make some of these lanes a little easier, given that they might have some reasonably poor solo lane matchups here. I guess the bottom lane is reasonably solid. I'd be a little afraid of Leona Varus, as Sona and Vayne can't quite bail her out, unfortunately. I mean, certainly there's lots of play there in that lane. There's kind of all sorts of funkiness going on, but just generally I expect Sona Vayne to play very, very safe and very passive and, get Vayne what she needs, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's interesting things you can do now because, I mean, Leona Varus on a purple side used to be was always a strong lane, but it wasn't maximizing its effectiveness because you had that level 2 disadvantage. Assuming there's no double golems picked up for the blue team here, if Leona can play aggressively and posture away to a quick level 2, they could potentially pick up and kill with that massive burst they have at level 2.
Yeah, and I mean, against Sona in particular, and even someone like Vayne who's a little squishy, I imagine there'll be some aggression to start things off. Certainly, in general, I feel like Nippletwigs has a slightly more aggressive comp, and that's kind of what we expected when we saw both Kassadin and Vayne picked up here for Indian 5. So, I mean, maybe it's the comp they like. I'm almost assured, actually, that probably on very comfortable champions, but we'll have to see how it all shakes out. Kind of different to the picks we've seen. I mean, Jace, I believe, actually fell through picks and bans completely.
Yeah, he was being moused over, but they didn't decide to lock it in as we see a pause come out here.
The first pause? Well, not quite the first, but this could be the first lengthy one. We haven't had a tournament pause, I think, since I've been here. I guess I shouldn't say that, because now we're going to have
lucky.
The rest of the week. We have been lucky. Hey, I mean, it looks like the server's not broken, apparently. It seems to be supporting this many themes just fine, and of course all the other people that are probably playing on live as well right now.
I'm looking on the stream. The stream seems to be a bit behind, but obviously the pause is coming up, so nothing to worry about.
We will have to remember to jump back to live when the pause does happen. That is an unfortunate circumstance, so make sure we get that done.
All right, and I'm jumping to live now.
I have jumped.
I have to click it a couple of times because it's silly.
Yes, as long as it says live. It's live out of whatever. Live out of number. Okay, good stuff. So just mounting up here for level 1. Looks like we could... Kassadin has to be a little careful. There's a couple of people hanging out in this brush. Now there's 4 people. Soon to be 5. I mean, Kassadin, I think, doing the right thing here, setting up defensively, but if a stray CC was to go away here, I think Kassadin could find himself in more than a little bit of trouble, but we'll have to see. Kevin definitely defending here, but that is scary, and he's going to spot them. Oh, maybe not! No, he has to pay attention! And there's the Xena played for Leona. The stun's going to come up, probably forced a flash here, ignite there as well, and it's a little too late. The exhaust comes out, and first blood for Ben Arthur, and poor Kassadin, he may have not been paying attention, unfortunately, because could not spot that in time before it was too late, and that is a nice first blood picked up there for Nippletwigs.
And look, we've all been guilty of that once in a while. We try and minimize it for tournament games, but just caught with his pants down a little bit there. And then he didn't flash straight away. He was trying to look for a favorable flash that could really open up some distance, but it cost him his life.
Yeah, I mean, he still has his flash now, which is good. Did not make the mistake of being dead and still flashing, which is something that players of all levels do. I'm very guilty of that.
People don't like to die, Pastry Time.
People really don't like to die, but sadly sometimes it is inevitable. Thankfully in this game you respawn, unlike life, where I believe you don't, although I'm sure we're working on that.
I'll take your word for that.
And we're going to have a red start here for Bert's LoL. So Nautilus's jungle reasonably uninterrupted, in fact completely, which was nice. I guess Kassadin did his job of spotting for the blue buff, but unfortunately it cost him his life, so that could make the lane here a little...
I see Zach actually used his smite there. We didn't comment on the fact that he has an exhaust smite, Zach, here, which sounds high risk, high reward, in that you have that ability to long-range slingshot yourself and put an extra CC down before your 6, but you don't have a backup if the slingshot doesn't hit.
He's actually going for a red steal here, but it's already been taken away, so don't know if Nautilus expected that, but completely juked Zac there. He's looking to do a little bit of counter jungling. I mean, I think he was trying to fight Nautilus when he was at the red buff. That would make sense, because obviously with exhaust, he's good in a 1v1 and does not have his smite, so it's kind of hard to steal.
His exhaust actually down from the level 1.
Oh, sorry, you are correct. But I mean, he didn't have smite, so it's not like he's stealing the buff. Sure. I think yeah. Anyway, Bertzl here going to rotate up towards the top lane here.
The other interesting adaptation, the longsword pots opening from Varus. Now, that's something that kind of fell out of favor with Doran's Blade being favored just because it gave you that lovely load of stats that really scales well in the early game. Oh, as we see Bertzl coming in here.
Yeah, if this is bad news for Tasty Outlaw, good flash though, but there's the hook coming out, nowhere to really go. And that Dredge line going to secure it there as it's Anton picks up the first blood on Cannon. Sorry, second blood. Excuse me, poor Castellan was the first blood.
And you have to say, I mean, this is an early thing to say, but maybe there's a kind of slight win here from the level 1 because Nautilus's jungle was uninterrupted. He's already gone and caused 1 kill. The snowball's potentially on for Nautilus.
Yeah, Kale's teleport actually getting used there, so he teleports back to top lane trying to make sure it doesn't fall too far behind experience in CS, but that is now wasted, so no more teleport coming out. Looks like another pause here. Players potentially having some connection issues. Can't see the chat, of course, I'm not too sure, but we'll just
you
wait
could see the chat this time, Bish, huh?
I cannot. It's default off for me. I don't know why.
Oh, you could always turn it on. Click the little eye.
I could do that.
You are not observing for the first time. How are you finding it, by the way, Bish?
It's different, but I know that Infez is doing an absolutely fantastic job, so big shout out to him. He's if you guys know the StarCraft scene at all, not even just here in Australia, internationally, this guy is he's the real deal. He's all about the international StarCraft observing. He's done a great job, and adding LoL to his resume can only help his observing career, and he's been doing a stellar job so far, from what I can tell. So big shout out to you, buddy. It's different, but it is nice to just wave my hands around and focus on the casting, which is.
And it's a good beta test today. We got out some of the issues like, hey, organizing of champions and little things like that you just skip your mind when you've cast as many games as we have. But
yes,
all those sorted, and then tomorrow, of course. We'll be moving into really the cutthroat stages of the bracket, and hopefully all the kinks will be out. And hopefully you've shouted at your internet provider.
Yeah, I mean, we're speaking again, which was nice. I kind of came home and I thought everything was okay, and all my stuff was on the lawn. I was like, hey, internet, what's up? I really would like, for us to still be together. So we talked it out. It seems like things will be okay. Maybe we'll go out to a movie tonight and it'll all be good. But yeah, it should be fine for tomorrow. I think we'll make it.
No worries.
There's Kevin here in the mid, just doing a little bit of CSing under turret. Definitely important as Cassidy to be able to CS in all situations. Kind of like man versus wild, except the wild is the minions. And Fizz here with another nice dodge. That playful trick here is completely dodging that null sphere.
And that's the magic of Fizz. He reminds you of 2010 when Flash used to pop projectiles as he hops around.
Yeah, that's a good comparison here. Looks like Zac might be wrapping around for a gank here, looking for Cassidy, it looks like. Actually been roaming through the enemy jungle, trying to pick up Nautilus or maybe pick up a buff or two, but Bertzl done a good job here just getting through his jungle, actually a level ahead, half a level even. Not quite a level ahead here, but looks like there's some shots coming in there. Cassidy could be in trouble. Fizz looking for it. There's the Urchin Strike coming out, but actually a nice slow coming in.
And they actually lose that damage trade just because of too much aggression being put out there, taking a turret hit.
That silence landing on Fizz as well, preventing any extra damage follow-up. Now Bertzl going to come down, looking for another good gank. He wants to find the Dredge line, does hook it there, and Dashot in trouble there. Ben Arthur even used his flash, thinking that trouble was afoot, and I think that is going to be a kill. Nice flash order there from Bertzl. There's a bit of damage on the red buff, cleans it up there, and Nautilus, as you said, maybe a blessing in disguise there, Papa Smithy. That unimpeded double buff level 3, got an early gank off, and is rolling down to the bottom lane to pick up his second gank of the game. So Cassidy,
the thing we always have to think about, though, Pastry, is that picking up a kill and then backing doesn't net you anywhere the same advantage as picking up your kill and taking an objective. Like, they could have potentially, as we see Sona get some nice harass in here, have snowballed that into a blue or red steal. They didn't, and Nautilus is the winner out of that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, again, Zac, for whatever reason, used his smite on that buff, so he didn't really have the option to run somewhere else, and the buff he did choose to go to, Nautilus had already started at. Whether or not that was intentional, figuring that Zac were coming for the counter jungle, or whether or not Nautilus was just like, yeah. I guess if they thought they were invading blue after that early pressure, Nautilus was kind of like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be there because they'll likely be there. And turns out his buff was actually there, so everything worked out for him. So you're right in that pressure that's just pressure is simply that.
Speaking of pressure, look at this item pickup. That's not going to help him clear the jungle.
Are you talking about
Boots of mobility pick up on Nautilus here. All pressure, all the time.
That is a statement, I believe. I think if you go... if you
the
keep
St. Vicious special as well.
Yes, I think if you go any sort of item other than evolved Hunter's Machete, whether or not it's the Spirit Stone, whether or not it's the Razors themselves, yeah, you're really making a statement of intent here. And Burstlaw, he wants to hook all day. Hook City is the call. And Nautilus will be looking. Looks like he might even just drudge up top again and see if he can make magic happen once more.
Level 6 open on Fizz, but the Rift Walk being open on Gaston means that the kill potential is really difficult. In fact, if you on this lower ping, actually, so this is actually a pertinent comment here, you are able to Rift Walk Chum the Waters damage if you are on point. There's like a 0.1 second delay where you're untargetable on Rift Walk, and you can use that on Chum the Waters and avoid the damage.
Really? That is insane. Looks like top lane we're going to have a gank there. 2v2 is going to happen though. It's Anton going just at level 6. Pumps up the slicing nails from Birdsall there. CC's down on the ultimate. The exhaust does get out, but it's not quite enough. It's Anton quite low. Needs to stun them up. Great intervention there from Kale, but Tasty Outlaw gets picked up, and that brush there proving just enough space to make everything all happy. Cannon there does have electrical surge, doesn't quite proc it as the Mark of the Storm wears off. He misses the Thundering Shuriken as well, and they do proc the Zac passive, but of course Zac, safe and sound in 4 little blobs, will reconnect much like Flubber, and he'll be okay for now, but passive will be down for a short while.
LG, life's good.
Life is indeed good. And very nice gank there from Nautilus, again exerting that pressure and kind of proving that Boots mobility was definitely worth it to buy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where because it doesn't give you either combat stats or help you clear, you know, it basically tells you that I'm all about the ganks, and if he keeps getting them off like he has, perfect pickup.
Yeah, and sadly not even Zac's exhaust could help him there. In fact, Zac now behind after some, I guess, interesting early game decisions in the jungle. Like, you could kind of see what he was going for, but I guess the way Nautilus's early jungle route mapped out, there wasn't really anything he could do in terms of pressure, and he's actually now behind Nautilus. In fact, he might even be a level. He's very close to a full level. In fact, I think he now just hit that mark. We've got level 6 for Nautilus up now, which makes his ganks, as you said, even better. He's got all 4 CCs now, so the full-on CC train is ready. And of course, with those boots of mobility, he's very, very deadly. There is a pink ward there, thankfully, which is spotting him out. So Nipple Twigs have that entrance covered. Leona staying well and truly back away there from that one. But, I mean, Nautilus is now, if he wasn't scary before with just Hook, he's got all the tools he needs now to gank people. I hear many pings. Looks like everyone just wants to make sure they have all their water entrances covered. In terms of CS, as we look down, looks like bottom lane actually quite a discrepancy here. Looks like Traumatized significantly ahead of Varus here, being played by Van Arthur. And that's good news for Vayne. Vayne always wants to be even or ahead, so in this case, being ahead is very much the thing very much makes you happy here. And so Vayne has got to be thrilled with how this lane's going. Hasn't been particularly interrupted, Bertsol's come down for a gank before just to help things out, and with all that pressure alleviated, and now with some levels on farm going into the bottom lane, I think Vayne's going to be very comfortable here against what is otherwise a reasonably aggressive lane. And we said it last time, Papa Smithy, about Leona, a very all-in style support champion.
Sure, she just hasn't had that option, ever since the early gank. Vayne's been able to CS quite freely. I mean, Varus, definitely a stronger laner than Vayne in the early game. So to come out of laning with, at the moment, a 25 CS lead is massive for Vayne.
Yeah. In terms of Cannon as well, actually about even here in Kale, so they're just trading hits back and forth. I mean, as you said, this lane for Kale, pretty good, despite Cannon having a lot of positive lanes across the board. That gank obviously did not help things in the top lane, but Kale CSing nicely here, and looks like we're just going to have a lot of farming, unless we've got more jungle pressure. We do have a Nautilus moving up here, looking for a brush gank, so we could turn the tides once again, but Kale's staying reasonably safe for most of the time. It looks like Fizz in the middle wants to go all in. Riftwalk though gets away. And that Null Sphere shutting off Fizz's follow-up there. Didn't even use his ultimate now in bottom. Sorry, down the top lane. Tasty Outlaw in trouble as well. Tears the CC train. Intervention used at a perfect moment though, but I think that Mark of the Storm is going to spell doom here. And Thundering Shuriken hits this time. Good trade though for Kale as Tasty Outlaw does pick up the kill onto It's Anton. And now Zac coming in. Activates his ultimate. Let's bounce, buddy. Anton tries to get out of the way with Electrical Surge. And will make it out of there. Stuns him up as well. Could maybe go in here, but doesn't quite have enough damage without his ultimate. Ignites down as well for a couple more seconds. Fizz rotating up now as well. If Zac can buy time, Fizz likely able to clean out this kill. Still has ultimate as well. He's just got to nail it onto Cannon. There he comes in. Urchin Strike can move out as well, but Electrical Surge is out of the way. Not quite enough. Chum the Waters almost hits at max range, but I think It's Anton's going to be okay. In fact, Cassidy now up on here as well. Could potentially turn this around. Zac has to be very, very careful. He's going to get insta-given. In fact, Cassidy looking to riff off around the back of Baron. No, not quite going to do it. So nice response there from both mid lanes, actually. And unfortunately for either team, no other kills converted.
Yeah, the red team actually came out ahead there just because maybe it was an experience, maybe it was a bad call. Nautilus took that one extra turret hit that he didn't need to, that cost him his life there, and that's why the trade came up pretty even.
Kennen definitely could have tanked probably 2 tower hits there at least, so all he had to do was kind of stay in range and tap W, and I think that Kel was probably dead. I have to say, perfect use of the intervention there from Kel. Basically the last second that Tasty Outlaw could have used that, he managed to get it off, and that really facilitated a trade there. I think it was almost a case of, oh, she hasn't ulted, maybe she doesn't have it, and just kind of going in confidently assuming that she was dead, and Kale, of course, just was like, yeah, actually, no, I still have this. Gonna go ahead and activate it, and it was really well timed there despite a very nice gank and all of the CC train indeed running.
I think the confidence is high all across the blue side as we see. I mean, Cassidy, I just was watching a trade in mid lane, Rift walking aggressively onto a Fizz, which shows how he feels the lane's going.
Yeah, I mean, he is level 9 now, so maxed up Nullsphere. He's got Riftwalk available. He's got Tid stacking up. He's got even Crystalline Flash for a little bit of extra. Bounce in there from Zach, but quick Riftwalked out there from Cassidy. And, he can be picked on certainly in the early game, but once you navigate this first stage of his laning, things get a lot better, a lot quicker. Ben Arthur could be in trouble. Cook, they're going to come out not quite there for Bertzlaw, and that will shut down that gank, unfortunately. No ultimate available for Nautilus, and not able to get in there and really put the CC down. And unfortunately, as Nautilus, when you miss hook, you don't really have a whole lot else left if you don't have your ultimate up.
Charm the Waters does hit in mid lane, Cassidy taking some damage here. Still has cooldown on the Riftwalk.
And looks like Nautilus coming around as well. Beautiful silence there. And here's the follow-up. Riptide in there. Good hook in there as well. And Bertzlaw cleans up a much-deserved kill there. So very nice bait from Kevin. Knowing that, Charm the Waters hits, but wasn't dead yet. Had more than enough time. As bottom lane, I think we're going to have fireworks. Russ and Saki could be in trouble here. Let's Bounce gets activated. Dashshot actually going after Traumatize as well. Snipe there from Varus as Zach gets the last hit on. And now Bertzlaw coming down as well. The damage could come in here, but a teleport around the back there. Cassidy coming around, cleans up Varus. Dashshot in trouble now as well. Tommy Oldman also taking damage as Zach tries to bounce out of the way. There's the double. Could be the triple. Needs a bit more mana, but doesn't quite have it. Gets in there, and there's the Null Sphere. But the Zach passive procs. They're going to tank a couple tower hits, try and pick it up. I think they need one more blob. Just that one there for Traumatize.
Much better the kill from Bertzlaw there. Very nicely done. 3 kills picked up.
Yeah, not panicking when Zach's passive activated, just tanking all the tower hits they needed, and yes, very nice coordination there to give Vayne a much-deserved kill, I think, or certainly something she's very happy about. Maybe not deserved.
So at the 13-minute mark here, it's 8-3, about a 3k gold lead, but still well within the red side to come back here.
Yep, something you can rein in. Not too large of a gap, but momentum has to be in the favour here of Indian 5. They've got to be happy with how things are going here. And Nautilus, I think, really the star of the early game. I mean, that was kind of what had to happen for the blue team. Otherwise, as we noted, their lane's a little weak. But Nautilus has just been running an absolute train. He's been running all the way. He's laid down the railway tracks between every lane, and he's been chugging along between them, just doing what he can, and very successfully for the most part. He's a lot of score involvements here at 3-1-5. In fact, he's been a part of every single kill so far.
Showing the aggressive pickup, definitely helping the team. And Nautilus, I said he's a snowball jungler. He doesn't have the snowball damage, but he just applies more and more pressure as he gets super, super tanky. Yeah,
sort of unlike Nunu, who's got, pressure that you can apply reasonably constantly at the same level. Nautilus kind of builds up over time, and I guess it reminds me a little of old Jungle Eve back when she used to stun you rather than just slow you. But Jungle Eve was so good at that point, it was so frustrating to play against, that players would just play up in their towers, and I get the same sort of feeling when a jungler like Nautilus, who's such a good ganker, is ahead here. Looks like top lane could be trouble there. Tommy Oldman could be in trouble. There's Slashing Master from Kennen, stuns him before he can pop over the wall, and not a whole lot Zach can do, unfortunately. So much CC, so much damage coming out, and Kale going to teleport in just in time to pick up a couple of minions, hopefully.
Down bottom, there's another massive damage trade as we did see the double CC combo come onto Vayne, but Vayne feeling alright. She has the Bloodthirst, so she's able to lifesteal very quickly and stays in lane.
Yeah. Do you like Bloodthirst over Blade of the Ruined King here? Because I guess that's the other common Vampiric item. Vampiric scepter item we would see out of Vayne.
I think it's a very strong team fighting choice. I mean, in lane, to be honest, Varus has multiple ways to deal with a Vayne. Both his ult and his E is fantastic disengaging as the all-in from Vayne.
Good hook there in the mid lane. Justice could be in trouble. There's the ultimate coming out as well. Good Chum the Waters, a bit defensive, but he's trying to get the last bit of damage in. There's the Null Sphere. And again, Bertzlaw not making the mistake he made the first time. He's been tanking very, very adequately the rest of the time here. And Kevin, hey, Cassidy train has started also. 3-1-3 there in the mid lane. And Cassidy, another scary champion in terms of snowball. So all that Nautilus pressure is really paying off here in the early game. And 10-3 now the score for Indian Fire, who are looking to try and really have a strong mid-game here and close out the game up against Nipple Tweaks.
Yeah, and back to your point about Bloodthirster versus Bay the Ruin King. Against Varus, I can definitely see the Bloodthirster because you're probably not going to get the solo kills, but against any other champion, if you're looking for laning kills, it's definitely the Bay the Ruin King.
Sure. I think that's, as always, a very strong assessment. Papa Smithy, apparently he knows stuff about this game. Who'd have thunk it? It's alright, I knew. Looks like Blue Buff going to get donated over here to Cassidy. He's going to riff walk over the back, and need to see large Rod up for him being very aggressive with his first item. Quite commonly we see Rod of Ages, but he's kind of split it a little here. He's got aggressive AP item, but he's actually got Merc Treads as his boots instead of something like Sock Shoes, so... Bit of defense, but definitely wants to go on the offense here with some of the kills he's been getting. And
he doesn't have that max health and max mana that Rod of Ages would offer, but you can trade that for being a fantastic assassin right now.
Yeah, and he's likely going to be Rabadon's or Zhonya's, depending on how he feels. And again, trying to look for some roam here. That one teleport actually managed to clean up 3 kills there, so he used that very, very effectively. And now just with the lane going so well, trying to roam and look for some kills. And of course, Nautilus still on the hunt. Looks like they might try and take out this top tower here, but Kale has to be careful. I mean, last time Tasty Outlaw managed to get it done. There's another hook coming in. The snare coming out in there as well. Cannon going to leap forward. And Tasty Outlaw's got off the ultimate. There it is. The tower dive, I think, is going to work out this time. Burstsoul does get off the tower there, and that's a kill for Ritz Anton. And it seems like Burstsoul definitely learning from that one mistake with that first failed tower dive. Has done 3 since then, and is 3 out of 4 now for dives. And Zach's
and just exerting pressure in every lane, which is the epitome of a snowball jungler.
Yeah, and again, not kind of snowball in the way that, I don't know, maybe one of the carry junglers is like, maybe Nocturne, I guess, is one of those sort of carry-esque junglers that, if starts snowballing, can just do silly things and ravage through people, doing sort of, melee carry-esque damage. But certainly all the pressure that these lanes are feeling is because of how strong Nautilus is. In fact, just cause even now can't quite fight the farming Cassidon as well, who's really racked up the kills in the last few minutes. And yeah, I think it might even be a solo kill. Great playful trickster to get out of that one from Fizz. That was a split second away from probably a dead Fizz, and this blue buff Cassidon is not letting up at all on poor Fizz. And in fact, Nautilus might even look for a gank here.
And obviously you pick Fizz as that lane bully, that melee assassin. I mean, Cassidon's running this mid lane now, and that is a big worry.
Yep. Over the top there for Zach, is actually bouncing down near the tower, trying to clear out some of the mini moves. Silence there comes out. Sadly, not a kind of a poor use of ultimate there for Tommy Oldham. Can't quite get anything done. I mean, he's probably going to protect this tower for a little bit longer, but I don't know if he needed to throw out Let's Bounce there, potentially. Done his job.
The Indian 5 pings do come out on Dragon here.
A little late, but, better late than never here. 19 minutes in. So they've been focused more on the lanes and the ganking and trying to push down some of these towers. They have gotten top. Mid's kind of low, so they may transition to that after this. I think bottom lane at this point, not too bad. Just under half health, though. But yeah, I mean, Nautilus at this point, I guess he's not the best minion clearer, right? Especially when you go boots mobility first. So had to wait a little bit here to clear this out, but a very comfortable dragon here just before the 20-minute mark.
And they return to lanes. So, I mean, everything looking good for the Indian 5 here so far. We talked about their late game scaling. The fact that they're ahead early game suggests that the next team fight could be a bloodbath for the Nipple Tweaks.
Yeah, Traumatized just getting aggressive there down the bottom lane. Zeal now up for Vayne. So I guess building into Phantom Dancer kind of feels like a very old school AD carry build, but certainly these items are all still good, so not a huge surprise to see this happening here. We've got Sight Stone up, general support items. Top lane, I think Kevin's in trouble, but Riftwalk likely to get him out of it here, and yeah, it does. Even the exhaust there from Zac to really slow him down wasn't quite enough in the mid lane. Actually, Cannon going in, looking for the stun, finds it onto Fizz and gets the kill. Nice dive there from It's Anton.
Killing a turret, all in a day's work for the little chipmunk.
Double Doran's Blade. I actually didn't notice that before, but he did go kind of the older laning cannon build of having those Doran's Blades. I mean, I guess against Kayle it probably makes sense, because spell trading's kind of hard, because Kale's always auto-attacking you, so you kind of want to try and get on par there and trade with Kayle the best way you can. It certainly worked out here. A quick early Zhonya's here as well has come out for Cannon, and it's Anton feeling very happy about his build so far. Looks like bottom lane, that tower's going to go down. Leona almost gets clipped there by the Nautilus hook, but instead they'll just take their third tier 3 turret of the game, and finally, I mean, we had maybe 90 minutes of laning, and all of a sudden, Indian 5 had just said, okay, it's time to take objectives now. We've laned for long enough, and 3 towers and a dragon in about as many minutes is, about half that time, actually, assuming 4 minutes, and oh my goodness, death cap. is all I can say.
Yeah, he's got the death cap pickup. I mean, he still needs to be wary here because, I mean, when Rift walks down, there's a 5-second window when he only has 1,500 health as a melee AP assassin, but the damage is just unparalleled.
Yeah, good hook there. Actually, Zach coming out there. That's bad news there for Tommy Altman. Gets picked off there. Actually, broken into pieces as some of the water comes out. They might try and pick up these blobs. Looks like one gets smited. Good solo player. Actually, good stun coming out there as well. But Zach does die there. Riftwalk just managed to come out there. There's Chain of Corruption from Varus. Birdsall taking quite a bit of damage. Kevern's got to be careful. Riftwalk's out of the way. I think Nautilus might be dead. He hooks it to Rain, tries to get out. But one more order from Varus does clean it up here. And Kevern's got to try and get out of the way somehow. He throws out Nullsphere. Riftwalk takes one auto. Gonna need to do a little bit more, but Dashon's trying to cut him off. He needs one Zenith Blade. Infect the Riftwalk. Can he do it? Oh, doesn't quite get there. But starts up Leona, picks him off as well. Sadly, no one there to actually support off there. And Sona Vane coming to the rescue, cutting off that Leona from potentially stunning. And no follow-up there, unfortunately, for Nippletwix to come in. And Cassidy with some very fancy moves, and all those Riftwalks manages to get out of an interesting-looking situation. Sadly, Nautilus, his teammate, was not so lucky.
A very profitable game of Leapfrog there for Cassidy.
Indeed. The greatest Frogger player known to man. It is Cassidy. So mid lane now, Tessialo just trying to push it out. National's tooth up now for Chaos. So some items are coming out here for Nippletwix. As you said, they're certainly not out of this game so far, but it is slipping away a little. That gold lead has really rocketed up since those objectives started getting taken. All that global gold going into the bank. And just all this pressure coming out here. Nippletwix have to be careful here. So Rice and Saki actually do get initiated on. Traumatize going to try and get something done here. There's the Sona flash out of the way. Speeds him up as well. Chum the Water's not quite, but Traumatize will flash out of the way just to stay safe there. And Sona does not have her ultimate. Has to be careful. Great slow in there from Zach. Great condemn though from Traumatize. Completely denies the follow-up, but Caston around the side now. So Tasty Outlaw could be in trouble. Kennen in the middle there activates his ultimate, just completely cleans house. But Tasty Outlaw still alive after a great intervention. Ben Arthur in trouble. Traumatized could be in as well though. But Instant is legendary picking it up, and there's the cleanup coming out. Traumatized almost dead, but the Bloodthirst is just enough life steal to stay alive. The triple there for Vayne. Just Cause probably in trouble now as well, and it could be a quadra. Not quite. No, Cassidy picks it up there as the Null Sphere goes over. Fizz can't dodge everything and flashes to his death, unfortunately, over that ridge into the rest of the enemy team, and a clean ace coming out there for the Indian 5, likely going to secure their gold lead here, 10,000 plus now. And all of a sudden, it's taken all of 5 minutes from a good landing phase to go to an absolutely overwhelming lead here.
And we were kind of talking about what team fights would be like if one of those hyper carry lanes didn't win. It's kind of a moot point when both of them do.
Yeah, and we do our best to try and plan for every situation, because a lot of different things can happen in League of Legends, a lot of little advantages add up very quickly, but as I guess the theme of today, a lot of the games have been fairly straightforward, and even in this situation where we're not exactly sure of the strength of the teams, because it's not an established team, the names aren't really ones we're familiar with, certainly at least from the names that we've been given. Again, Smurfs and all that could happen. It's like Dashod in trouble now. Good chain of corruption there from Barras to get him out of the way. Anton missing that shuriken for the second time in this game. I'm sure he's upset about that. There's Electrical Surge coming out. Clean up from Kevin as he force pulses him in the back there to pick up that kill. And again, Birdsall very tanky at this point. Tanking up all the tower hits. I like this build as well. Feels very support junglery to me. Boots mobility for Nautilus for those ganks, and then Spirit of the Ancient Golem plus Aegis. Very cost efficient, very tanky, and of course helps his team above all.
And kind of the reason why I still view Nautilus as a snowball jungler, as even though he's not the Nocturne or Olaf that we used to consider that, not the sort of champion to run into the enemy team and get kills, is that he can show up, with what will no doubt be a bulwark very soon, with so much CC, tank turret hits, provide an aura for his team. If he gets ahead and has all those items in a really timely manner, there's just not much you can do against the Nautilus. He has 4 CCs.
He does. He has an entire train worth, as he noted in the pregame. And he's used them to great effect here. Well, it kind of feels like, the movie Unstoppable?
Immovable, certainly. He's got a lot of commonalities with the Malphite, for example.
Okay. I guess I'll have to teach you that one after this game. There is a movie about a train that is unstoppable, called Unstoppable. And I feel like if someone photoshopped Nautilus's head on the front of that train on that movie poster, that I would have a perfect visual example of what is happening here with Birdsall's Nautilus.
Fair enough.
I'm sure somebody knows what I'm talking about. Hopefully, anyway. Otherwise, we'll have to scratch that joke for the next comedy sketch.
Indeed.
Looks like more pushing going to come in here. Again, just lots of pressure being applied here. I mean, the kills weren't this bad before, but 21-4 with all that gold, all those towers. A very difficult position here for Nippletwix.
Worth noting that Seraph's Embrace up on Kassadin here. Even though he doesn't have a high health pool, I mean, he's going to get a massive shield from the Seraph's Embrace. Has a Ruby Crystal to help himself out. He's feeling very confident sitting on 415 AP at 26 minutes.
Yeah, I think if you're a Kassadin that has this early of a Rabadon, plus the Seraphs already up, you're a pretty happy camper. And looks like Baron might actually be the order of the day here. People trying to clear out some wards. No oracles. No, there we are. Center does have it. I thought I saw one. Rice and Saki does have the oracles there. Clean out for Baron. Good response here from Nipple Twix. They're trying not to get caught here. Leona, they will get hooked up, and the damage coming out. So much pain there as Traumatized picks up that kill. And that really is the danger of someone like Kassadin Nautilus. You catch somebody, Kassadin at this point, having this much AP is really going to just demolish whoever they catch. And if it's a squishy support like Leona at this point as well, it's even worse, unfortunately. Charm the Waters.
So now 3 levels down is Zaki. Doesn't have flash. His E interrupted. Let's set the cooldown here. It's off cooldown. I mean, he's 3 levels down, but strange things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to come in here, probably just going to get killed before he can try and take his Baron. Let's Bounce comes out, actually finished off there. The Smite's go, but Vayne picks up the last hit. And now over the top, Kevin going to pick up a Tasty Outlaw. I think Intervention might get back up. No, not quite. The last auto in the back there. Does manage to pick up Kale. And from the sounds of chat, I think we may be done here. Oh, I think we have to be. There's the Zhonya's ultimate into nothing. There's the Flash Stoner ultimate. And GG is in fact called. Well played to both teams here. But Indian 5 with the Freight Train Nautilus managed to clean out